Let me thank you, first of all, thank you for coming, Minister, the Honorable Randy Horton. I've asked you to come by today because you'll recall that some months ago we laid out a plan, a 10-year plan for tourism and its recovery for Bermuda. One of the major planks in terms of what we called quick wins were things that we thought we could do in a relatively short space of time that would lead to additional business, was sports tourism. And today I wish to announce that with the help of the ministry, the minister, we're able to increase that budget from $2.5 to $3 million. The board has appointed Mr. Randy Horton as chairman of the sports committee. He'll speak to you how we propose to grow that business going forward. But what I think is important to note is that this is our commitment to growing that off-season, growing those shoulder months, growing those months when we don't have many people around. Mr. Horton will lay out a plan that tells you how we propose to grow it going forward. I will now turn you over to Mr. Randy Horton, who is chairman of the sports committee and who has the responsibility of assuring that we as Bermudians grow together and the industry benefits from this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxwell. First of all, let me just say that this is something that I've always been very excited about in my life, having been a professional athlete and realizing the value of sport and also recognizing the importance of health and fitness amongst people in the world today. I certainly believe that our strategy to grow sports tourism is one that will greatly benefit Bermuda and Bermudians as a whole. When we talk about sports tourism, what are we talking about when we talk about sports tourism? And I think it's important to point that out. When we talk about sports tourism, we're talking about special sports tourism, which is when visitors come to the island and they will play a particular sport, whether it's golf, tennis, sailing, snorkeling, fishing, soccer, cricket, any of the other sports. Then you have sports event tourism, and we certainly experienced a lot. We just experienced that this past weekend not this past weekend, but Monday through Wednesday past with the PGA Grand Slam, where you had a major event on the island. Major events, what they do is they do several things. They bring people to the island. Also, in the case of the PGA Grand Slam, they provide great media opportunities for spreading to the world just what Bermuda is all about. And then you have sports academies, sport training camps, sport MICE tourism, meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibitions, which I think certainly will can create a good opportunity for Bermuda once we strategize and decide that we're going to go for the business, because I think in the past we haven't gone for the business in a great way. So what are we going to do to help to improve this sports tourism? And as the chairman alluded to, the one thing that we want to do, and first and foremost, I think it's important, is to grow the events that we already have. We have some good events in Bermuda right now. I'll give you some examples of some of those events. Would be the Bermuda Marathon weekend, the Goodwill Golf, which has been around for about 60 years, the She Rocks Triathlon, which is a new event. We've got the Rugby Classic, the Newport to Bermuda Race, the Bill Fishing Tournament, the Ronda Sound Swim. Are examples, not all of the events, but are examples of events that have been successful and been successful for a couple of reasons. They've brought people into Bermuda during the shoulder season, which is a strategy that we want to grow business during the show. We want to put people in beds during the shoulder season. And through sports tourism, we feel that we can increase this. And what our initial wins hopefully will be to go after doubling some of our events that are present here. For instance, the Bermuda Marathon weekend, the Ron the Sound Swim, etc. If we can double those events, then we're starting to build success in our sports tourism. Now, when we look at sports tourism also, I think it's important that to recognize that we have in Bermuda, I believe, in our associations, excellent people, excellent organizers of events. And what we want to do is to capitalize on that. Already, they've shown through the events I just mentioned that they can organize these events very well. What we want to do is provide more support to these organizations so that we can reach the goal of doubling and therefore meeting the goal of the Tourism Board, which has said, the Tourism Board said we want some win-win situations, and we feel these will certainly be win-win. So what we want to do is to enhance the coalition that we have with the various sporting organizations in Bermuda, and they are good. The organizations, I can tell you, I've worked with many of the organizations already in Bermuda who have people who are not only enthusiastic about their sports, they understand their sport, they also understand the importance of sports tourism and getting people from overseas to come to Bermuda to participate. And not only to participate, but to participate sometimes also with Bermudians, which totally enhances the experience of those people who come to our beautiful island. So we want to double some of those present events. The other thing we want to do is to add some events, and we've got some events. For instance, to give you an example, would be the Rugby Classic, which has been very successful. I don't see any reason why, once we work very close with other associations, that we can't develop some other festivals, such as lacrosse or soccer or cricket. Of course, cricket wouldn't be during the shoulder season. That would have to be probably another part of the year. But also the hockey. In fact, we've had a hockey festival years past, and certainly I would think that once we reach out and work with those associated with hockey, we could certainly get back to having a hockey festival. So what we want to do is increase beds during the shoulder season. We want to double, again, we want to double some of the events that we have, and we want to add on additional festivals and the like in order to enhance our tourism numbers. Questions? Yes, Mr. Weir.
As one man, I must say that it seems to be a win-win situation, because not only do you know something about tourism, you know something about sports. But let me just ask you, given that a lot of these events come with price tags,
Yes.
where are you going to get the money to encourage that type of thing?
Okay, thanks. That's a good question, Mr. Webb, and I think that one of the, many of the events, though, Mr. Webb, don't come with a huge price tag. When you look at an event like the PGA Grand Slam, that's a huge price tag. But when we look at other events like the She-Rock's Triathlon, like the International, the Bermuda Marathon weekend, and the like, we're not looking at huge numbers. The marathon weekend, I believe, and I don't have all the. I've just come into this, so I don't have all the numbers down pat. But I think it was about $80,000 that was given for the Bermuda Marathon weekend last time, and so many of those events it's under $100,000, which is supporting them. I think that some of them we may need to help a little bit more in order to get to double, as I said, but it's not huge numbers. But what we do have, as the chairman has pointed out, is that the board, we do have another $500,000, I believe.
Yes, that's right. That's what we did.
Which is there to help us to enhance what we're doing and to reach out for more.
Would you consider this a bit of confusion for the governing bodies of sports that you're asking to? How is youth in sport working in conjunction with this?
That's a wonderful question, and again, and I think one of the things that I believe very much is that I will, once I was asked to do this, I'll be reaching out to you. I've also been the minister of sport, so I know a bit about how that runs, and so therefore I will be reaching out to those who work there and work together with them. This will not be, us working here and using sport over there, working with the associations. But certainly as we develop association with those people in the different sports associations, we'll do it together with, in concert with sport, youth and sport.
One more question for the minister.
Well, let me just say that this, I don't even ask some question. I'm just here to support the chairman and chairman of the tourism board and the chairman of the particular youth and sports. So
Right.
I'll let they have to answer this question through the youth and sports.
Oh, no, it's not youth in sport. This is about the games that just finished.
What?
Why don't you ask the question? We'll determine.
The corporate games.
Yes.
Asking the minister if he felt that Bermuda got its return on the corporate games.
Okay.
Well, everything starts at the beginning somewhere. And I'm reminded when, first of all, over 1,000 individuals participated in the corporate games. I'm reminded when the event started in Australia, they tell me, based on per capita, as far as size of the country, Bermuda had a larger contingent this year than the Australian group. Most of the people that participated in the Australian group was from Australia. I don't know exactly the numbers that we had coming over from OC. I think it was just under 100 people. But that's just a seed planted so that hopefully next year, and as you're aware, that there's no doubt that corporation have been cutting back on the budget as far as getting people out to events. So hopefully next year that things will be much better.
Would you well, for people that cover sports, most of the people that were involved in these sports do these sports on a regular basis, so they're in these sports all the time. So the numbers that they're throwing out, 1,500, those people play softball weekly, they play netball weekly. It's a surprise to some people, but what I'm asking is, do we feel we got our return?
Well, that's when the board itself will take a look at to see what came out this year, assess it, and then determine what we think would be the best. I'm just saying that we expected more people to come out. That's true. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't our event. We supported an event that the individuals came to us with, and we just hope that things will get better. That's all I can say.
If I can perhaps just do a wrap and I'll work backwards. I'll start with you first. The corporate games did a few things for us, though, and I think they were worth it. The truth of the matter is, I saw hundreds of people participating in sports this weekend that would not have been participating in sports normally. That can only be a good thing. I saw any number of companies who don't participate in sport on a weekly basis, participating in sports, representing their companies this weekend. And we're going to grow it. And so I think we've started. We've had a good start. It could have been better without question. We're grateful for the start, and we'll grow it. And that's what we're just, perhaps, and then I'll double back to where we are. The thing we're talking about this morning, we're going to grow sports tourism. And we're going to grow it one sport at a time. And yes, there could be an event that we might anticipate 50 people and we get 10. But we'll start it. We'll get to 50. Remember the faith that a man had in the rugby classic that Bermuda enjoys today. His name is John King. John had faith that he would grow it to what we see today. And when Dalton Thomas asked him, but you're not there yet, he said, I'll get there. And today John walks around with pride. Go up November 11th, take a shot of it. You'll see a man who said, I saw it before most people could believe it. I never let it go, and I got there. He proved that to me I don't want to tell you the year, but show my age, a cup match one year. He too showed that if you hang in there long enough and you keep your head down and you have faith, you'll bring it home. So we have a Mr. Horton who understands sports, who understands tourism, who has a commitment and a passion for his country, and who has $500,000 seed money to go out and to grow programs. And the point he made is true. So many of them don't require large sums of money to get started. And in some cases, it's just giving organizations additional money for mailing lists to make a further reach to the people they want to bring. That's the kind of thing we're going to do. We're going to fill those beds. He's going to fill those beds. And the Bermudians who are engaged in sports throughout the country will. You will know that sport, the department in the Ministry of Sport, which I have a bit of knowledge, albeit dated, is committed to helping local sports, and it has funds to encourage Bermudians to participate overseas in international sporting events. We're talking about bringing tourists to the island, bringing not quite necessarily so regulated a group of people to participate in sport. The fun sports is of which you spoke of early on about this weekend. Are there any other questions?
We always refer to, and forgive me the lady, but putting bombs in beds. Does Mr. Horton, perhaps Mr. Horton can answer this for himself, but does he have the testicular fortitude to separate some of these groups that are not tourism oriented, who will come to him to say, I want my event promoted, when it doesn't put bombs in bed? That's what I want.
Yeah, I think certainly if it's an event, we have to be looking at how the event, we're tourism, so we have to look at how the event benefits tourism. And certainly there may be an event that doesn't put a lot of people in the bed that may provide some opportunity for tourism as well. I mean, even you for instance, the just completed Grand Slam does not put that many people in beds per se, but what does it do? It provides 8 million in media coverage. It reaches out to something like 200 million households. So we have to look at it, Charles, in more than just the beds and bombs in beds, as you say, which is, I think, the point that you're making.
That the ministry does do an economic survey at the end of the day based on numbers coming out. And so we have historical information, at least on the historical games or sporting events that we can get to you so you can see. With the new events that Mr. Horton is talking about, they may just start out very low at the beginning. There may be just individuals who are participating. The question is that we want to get out there, and I'm not sure whether you announced it, but we have just finished a report on sports tourism, which Mr. Horton is reviewing, has reviewed, and there's a whole pile of different events that we can have, which I'm sure he will be looking at and see what he will take to the board going forward. But I'm appreciative of the board. Shows that they are working, and that's just the sporting events. There are other things that the board is doing, which you will hear about in days to come, as far as.
While you're there, and forgive me for jumping this like this, but have you yet decided what you're going to do with the PGA?
Well, it's not about what I have decided. We're both in discussion. And we'll have some discussions with the board also about that. But we are in discussions with the PGA. The contract has actually expired. You're all aware of that. They are going through some transitional period themselves. The new CEO will be coming on, I believe, at the end of November. So the question is whether they make a decision now or make it later. We're willing to hold off for a bit longer, but we are looking at options. I'm sure the board is looking at options. We want to make sure that the money is, one thing if they have additional money to bring a lot more sporting events in next year. But yeah, we're looking at our options going forward. But we want to have something There's been many different suggestions, classics, golf classics, but Mr. Horton is correct. The first time, I've been out there several times, but the first time I ever been into the media room, you know, I'm thinking, okay, there's a television stock in the back room and people work on it. But I've been in the media room up there at the Port Royal. It was huge. I have never seen that. I'm so used to being out there on the golf course. But the impact around the world was significant. We received several emails from individuals, people who knows me overseas, congratulating us on, because it was such a beautiful event. I mean, the Bermuda was really shone this time. Not that it didn't shine in the past, but the sun was out there, and the beauty, everything about beholding Bermuda was there. So we appreciate the response. So we want to see what happens. Do we want to have it? I think we do. And we'll see what happens going forward. But like I said, we're all in discussion.
Can I say something? And just I think, Charles, to your point, what's important for us too, I think, and the minister's pointed out the status of the negotiations, et cetera, right now. But I think it's important for us to have a marquee event. That's a marquee event that we can build other events around. That people start talking about Bermuda. So it's the PGA Grand Slam and ABCD. And I think that's an important aspect to think that having a marquee event is important for us. So I'm one of those who are strongly support. I'll be working hard to make sure that the minister makes sure that we keep the PGA.
All right.